So if we get started, so today's session for pharma service organisations, why most doers don't sell and how to engage them in BD. So why have I put this together? Over the last few months, I've been speaking to a lot of different commercial business leaders, and there seems to be a fairly common frustration within organisations. Leaders are saying, why we've got all these people, they're dealing with our customers day in, day out. We're missing opportunities. Why don't they sell? Does that resonate? Is that something you're hearing, seeing, feeling? If please, maybe raise your hand or comment in the chat. But would keen to see what your views or thoughts are if that's a common occurrence.
Apologies, I'm just joining, so I missed your question.
No problem, Juliet. I just asked, so given the slide I've put up saying, why won't they sell? I've been hearing and seeing over the past few months a lot of frustration from business leaders, and saying we've got all these people, they do a great job, but they're not selling, they're missing opportunities, and it's a frustration. We can't get them to engage more. So it's just a question out to the audience of, is this something that you are seeing, hearing, feeling within your own organisation, within your own team? Is that a current state of affairs or not?
We certainly see it, and I think it's because we have really technical teams, and they see business development as the kind of hard sell, cold calling thing, and they feel deeply uncomfortable about it.
Absolutely, and we'll you've jumped ahead a few slides, Julia, but you're absolutely right. But but yeah, great, thanks everyone. So if we move forward, so through today's session, these are things I'm going to try to cover with you. An introduction to me for those that don't know me. Who are the doers? Who are we actually talking about within our organisations? What is the cost of not engaging doers in BD? And maybe why most doers don't sell. Let's have some. I'm going to hopefully talk some truths about why people actually aren't engaging. Maybe share with you what I've observed, some tried and failed strategies that others have tried, and some thoughts, ideas as to how you can think about trying to engage your doers in BD and support your growth. So quick introduction to me, for those that don't know me. So my background, I've spent most of my career involved in leading teams, selling, winning, delivering professional services to the pharma, life science, healthcare sector. In 2022, I set up Russell Strategy Partners and really focus on providing BD solutions to pharma service firms. And our clients are quite varied, ranging from specialist boutique consultancies, search firms, marketing, medcoms, business intelligence, managed access, etc. So quite a wide variety of different service organisations, and our purpose is really help our pharma service clients win more business. That's what we're trying to support our organisations, our clients to do. So I thought maybe a first place to start is, what is business development? Sometimes it does mean different things to different people, but for me, I really think it comes down to three key areas. I think it's for a pharma service firm's ability to firstly be able to retain existing clients, grow existing clients, and of course win new clients. And sometimes I hear people talk about BD meaning only one of those things. They're focused on winning new logos and not thinking of BD and sales around retention and growth of existing. For me, it really does incorporate all three. But I'd also suggest that business development is an art, it's a science, and it is a skill. And we've got to take that into account when trying to get people engaged and doing this. Again, I'm not sure that's something that's always appreciated. So when thinking about the doers, who are they? What do they look like and feel like? I created this definition. You may have a different view on it, but for me, a doer is someone who is responsible in your business for delivering on projects, has regular contact with clients, and there is an expectation on them to win business. Would you agree with that? Is there any other views, thoughts on what a doer looks like, or what the expectation is of somebody in that role? If there's any other thoughts, please put it into the chat. So what does a doer look like? Example job title, and these will vary. You may have your own version of these, but often the account managers, client services, project managers, SMEs, consultants, lawyers, partners. Often it's these kind of roles and functions that we see are expected to do this doer-seller role or model that we sometimes hear about. And there are some very different experience profiles that I think you need to consider. If you've got doers who are less than 5 years experience, so they're still fairly new into maybe your service industry, are they still learning and growing? Or we've got people that are pretty experienced, have been in your organizations for a long time. You might have people that you've pulled in from industry into the service line, and they've never really been involved in a B2B sales BD environment. Back in my earlier career, I was a headhunter, and often we would recruit for service firms and pull people out of industry. And the view was, well, they've been around industry, they've got a network, they can go sell, and they couldn't, and they often they didn't know how to or where to start. But people want those people from industry because they've got that understanding, that empathy, that understanding. So there's different profiles of levels of experience. But then, and I think someone put this in the chat earlier on about mindset. Yeah, I mean, doers often, their mindset, you'll hear them say this themselves, people will describe themselves being risk averse. They are very detail orientated, maybe introverted, often less financially motivated. It can often be seen. But they have some real strengths, and their strengths are that they are really passionate about what they do. They are curious, and they do execute well, and they've got precision, and there's quality often and in terms of the work and the outputs they are creating. So some great strengths that they can bring to the organization. But a question for you and maybe for your managers. Do you know the personality types of the people, of the doers, of these folk? Do we really understand what motivates them, drives them, what their strengths, weaknesses, fears, concerns are going to be, and are we trying to work around that? And there's different tools that you can use to try to understand that. Different companies might use things like DISC, or there's the Game Changer Index, the GCI, and there's many other tools that can give you an insight to someone's mindset and the things that are going to motivate them the most. I'll just pause on that. Any questions, thoughts, comments, observations on kind of that description? Does that sound like people within your businesses, or is there something else that really stands out for you? Okay, we'll move on. So again, the cost of, great, thanks Darren, appreciate that. The cost of not engaging doers, and no surprise probably to the people on the call. Ultimately, this is about, we are missing opportunities. We believe they are maybe not picking up on the cues, the hooks, the signals, the leads. So we're not necessarily upselling or cross-selling. So we're missing revenue generating growth opportunities, which can mean that relationships with the clients aren't being nurtured. Are they getting deep enough? Are we getting sticky enough? Are we really becoming that trusted advisor and that go-to when the client has a problem, who they're going to call and want to speak to? It can cause a disconnect in the organization between the doers and management and leadership. And then ultimately, it sometimes means that the responsibility for business development really falls on a few shoulders. And often I've heard and seen that can end up causing a lot of resentment and frustration on both sides, from both the people in the jobs, but also management and leadership that are just getting frustrated with the situation. So why most doers don't sell? Let's explore that. So I think the cold hard truth for a lot of them is, they didn't become whatever they are, whether it's a consultant, scientist, a lawyer, whatever, to be in sales. That was not their chosen career path whenever they made that decision. So they didn't do what they do to be in sales. Maybe over the last 5 to 10 years, if they've been in the service sector, they haven't had to do business development. Maybe there's been plenty of business and they've been busy and they've been fed and they've been active, so they just haven't had to do it. For some people, they will say, well, it's not my job, and they don't see it as their job because they haven't had to do it. It's been a different working environment. And there is a skills gap. Over the last maybe 5 or 10 years, often organizations aren't investing in training, giving people these skills or giving them the exposure to some of these types of activities. So as a result of all of that, they don't always know what to do or how to do BD. It might feel second nature to experienced people, being people on the call, people like myself or others, but these people haven't had that exposure or training, so they don't know what to do or how to do. And then there's a whole range of psychological barriers and personality types, going back earlier on, you often hear people talking of, there is a fear of rejection. There is a discomfort with this ambiguity in the grey space that we often work in BD. And they just have a lack of confidence in doing different activities. And often I hear people saying, no, I don't want to be seen as salesy and cringy. That's I hear that an awful lot from people in these roles. So there's a lot of things there that we need to address and help get over to get people on this journey. And as a culmination of all those factors, then the time factor becomes the biggest barrier and biggest excuse often. So I don't have time, I'm busy. But because of all these other factors, they're not making the time. It falls to the bottom of the to-do list. It's the least comfortable activity that they want to do, so that they're avoiding it. Again, does that resonate? Are those things that you've seen and heard within your own organisations? Thanks, Helen. Thanks, David. Great. So yeah, these are all things, observations and things that I hear in many organisations that we've gone into. So I'm going to share with you now, again, what I've observed as some of the tried and often failed strategies to try to address this. So sometimes we'll see organisations top down say, right, everyone's got a sales target. You need to go and sell X and bring in Y. Again, if we haven't been trained, we don't know what to do, how to do it, we're probably not going to do it. Or they're determining, these are the sales activities, the KPIs. You need to do this many calls, this many emails, this many networking events. And again, people are pushing back on that. They don't have the confidence there. There's fear. There's all the other psychological barriers to deal with. Some organizations will then go through a one-size-fits-all generic sales training program. But often it's not embedded and we get limited behavior change. So people aren't supported on actually turning that into reality and into their everyday. Some organizations we've seen them try to put incentive plans in place, do something that feels quite attractive to the right motivation, right person, but it hasn't landed. Doesn't matter what you put in front of people, if they're not comfortable, if they're not trained, they're not doing it. So the incentive isn't right for those individuals. And then we see some organizations, some leaders then go down the DIY approach. They get so frustrated, I'm going to do this myself. And they go off, they make the phone calls, they speak to the people they probably started in the career with, and somehow they create some business. And they come back, and that can be great in the short term. We've won some business, brilliant. But it can actually be counterproductive because those managers come and go, this is easy. What's the problem with business development? I can do this. And everyone else is struggling or not comfortable to do it. So again, it's creating a bit of friction between the different roles and functions. And then we find some organizations, again, will get frustrated with the environment. So they will hire in a BD lead, which could be great. And that could be a part of the overall solution. The challenge you always want to be aware of is when you hire somebody with that dedicated role, then the doers sit back and relax, go, great, I really don't have to do this now because we have a BD lead. All BD is on them. So how do we make sure that isn't the culture, and how are we using that person, and what are the skills and objectives for a specific BD lead? So those are some of the things that we've seen and observed within some organizations. Again, any of that resonate with you? Have you tried? Is there anything that you've tried that has failed, or tried but has worked? Any comments or thoughts would be good to hear from you. Belinda, they all just ignore it. It's definitely not part of the job. Yeah, that's a common problem. So I'm going to move on to now suggest some ideas, some thoughts as to how can we think about trying to engage doers in BD within our organization. And I will give you a warning that there isn't a silver bullet here. There is not a magic answer and a magic pill. If there was, I'd probably be a very, very wealthy person and we'll be sailing off into the sunset. But there's not. But there are some very practical things that I think we can start to do to change things and make things better. So firstly, I think when it comes to the business leaders, I think we need to be more realistic over our own and manage our own expectations. We all know, business development does take time. It takes time, effort, energy. You've got to be proactive and consistent with that, but it does take time. And there are different, as we said, different forms of BD. Winning a brand new account can take a long time. Winning existing business and growing that, again, is right time, right place when the client has a need. So we need to be realistic. We're also unlikely to get all of your doers to engage. And hopefully there will be some people that can and are more likely to, but it's unlikely you're going to get all of them to start with. There will be some early adopters. There will be some that are more hesitant, but can we get them on that journey over a period of time? And I think we're really unlikely to engage doers in cold BD, where we have no contacts, no relationships, we don't know anyone. They're not going to go anywhere near that. That is far too scary a place for them. So I would suggest, don't even waste your time with those people in terms of that activity. I think also we need to be consistent in our communications. Sometimes we see in organizations, they'll be talking around creating the right culture and supportive, and then the next minute there's a communication about how much pressure and stress we're under and everyone's got to go sell. So I think we need to find a way to keep that communication consistent as possible. And think about how can we provide support and provide clear direction over, okay, how can we support you on that journey? What tools do you need? What support? What's the strategy? What's the plan? And how can we make it easier for them? What are the things that they can do? And we'll come on to this in a moment, but how can we make it easier for them to engage? How do we make it less of a barrier, remove whatever barriers are potentially in their way? And it may be that you have to look and go, okay, we have some people that can do X and Y, but we don't have these other things. And it's better if we control this centrally. So we can't expect our doers to do everything. There are some things we can do and control centrally, and there's other things that we can expect, and there's no reason why people can't start to engage with other activities. So I think there's a first part for managers, leaders, commercial growth leaders to really think about managing, being realistic and managing our own expectations. I think someone put a point in here, which I'm going to refer to now, is how can we reframe what is business development and help people think about what it is and what it isn't to get them more comfortable. So for me, for these people, actually delivering a great service, that is actually business development. People don't always realize that or appreciate that. And why is it BD? Because if you do a great job, clients are more likely to want to buy more from you. You're going to get case studies and testimonials, and then we can use those as marketing materials to help win other business. So they are contributing to that overall BD effort by doing a great job as well. And sometimes we don't reinforce that enough. Business development is not just about cold calling, and it's not just about going to networking events. There are so many different activities that you could be doing. Again, people don't always know, well, what else can I do? I need to be shown and taught what that is. So it's not just about those things. And I very much believe, BD is not about, and for these people, it's not about selling to your clients, but it's about how can we get our clients to buy and buy more from us. And there's a there's a tweak in the motivation, the mindset in terms of going from I'm not selling to, but I want clients to buy from me. Can we help them make that distinction and create that environment? And there's not a one-size-fits-all approach to BD. Everyone I know that does BD does it differently. We all hopefully are working towards the same outcome, but you've got to find a way that works for you, that utilizes your personality, it's authentic, and making sure people are comfortable that it's not a one-size-fits-all, but let's figure out what is right for you, and it may take a bit of time. But BD is about building relationships and trust, and it is about problem solving and being helpful, and hopefully those are things that these people will resonate with them and their mindset. But BD is a process, it's not an event. It does take time, and we need to take them on that journey and help them manage that process and build that as a part of their everyday. And also help them realize and recognize they have transferable skills that they can apply into BD if they are really curious, if they're great at asking questions, if they are great at problem solving. All of those are great skills that can be applied in the BD environment. So how can we work to reframe and get people comfortable with what it is that we're trying to do, and equally what we're not expecting them to do? Again, any thoughts on reframing? Does any of that resonate with you?
I think it's
feedback?
I think sometimes it's just getting people to think it's just a conversation between two human beings.
Yep.
It's not a big whoop whoop. It's just
Yeah.
literally having a conversation with another person, which you do all of the time. You might not know
Absolutely.
them as well, but that's how you make friends and all those sorts of things. So reframing it that way I found very helpful for people.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Helen. And you're right. It is just a conversation. It's a conversation about their business and your business and those relationships, and things will come out of that. So yeah, absolutely. So then going to move on to how to engage them. Upskill, mentioned earlier on, often people haven't been trained, so therefore they don't know what to do or how to do it. So can we identify, well, what are their strengths? And therefore, what type of BD activities would they be good at? What are they more likely to enjoy? And if they enjoy it, they're more likely to engage in it and build that confidence, overcome that fear, and then maybe they'll be able to take on other things in the future. So do we really know what their strengths are and how we can build upon that? How can we train them to improve these skills? Invest some time and effort, resource into them, and agreeing realistic goals and actions for them to achieve over a period of time. And really important is celebrating small wins, even getting a client actually emailing you back and coming back to you with a communication or an RFP or something. There's lots of small steps to winning business. Let's celebrate those little steps along that way. But do find a way to mentor and support them. This will be scary for some people. So how can they learn? How can they shadow people, debrief after meetings, after calls? What did we learn? What could we do better? Some of that basic stuff that as managers we could be doing. But it's really important to enable them to learn in a safe space. They're going to be uncomfortable. So they need to know there's a safe space. They can ask those silly questions. There's not going to be any judgment about them and what they're saying and what they're doing. And that they can learn. And if we can start to take them on that journey, then we can start to challenge them to do a little bit more and go a bit more outside their comfort zone and get the incremental gains and the incremental difference in BD activity. So the question you may want to ask within your own businesses are, do your managers have those skills to do that? Have we got the skills to identify and mentor and manage and coach people through this process to help them to be better at that? So you may want to take a look internally and think, are our managers up for this, or do they need some support as well? So I'm going to move on to tools and support. Are we providing them with the tools and support that they need to be successful? Have they got access to market information? Are we using different intel that's out there that could be relevant for them? Have they got access to client information? Have we got a CRM platform? Have we got account plans when and where relevant? Have they got access to this information that tells us what we've been doing, where we are, where the opportunities are, and maybe pointing us in the right direction? Have we got the right marketing materials and the different templates that are easy for them to access and use and share as and when are going to be appropriate? And is there the marketing support and expertise? A number of people often struggle with even writing emails and outreach emails to clients, or how to follow up with clients. Think about the structure, the content, the amount of emails I see where people are just throwing the kitchen sink at the email, and there's so much detail in there. No one's ever going to read that. So they need some help saying, well, how do I craft an email and think about the subject line and the content, and so that hopefully at least somebody's going to open this and hopefully they will respond to that. So they might need some real tactical support with some of those elements. And do they know what to do once they've identified an opportunity? So once you've created that, there may be negotiations, there may be further conversations, which again, they may not be comfortable with. So how do we take them on that journey? Who do you refer that to? Who comes in on that conversation? Who can help to close and win that if they're not ready for that yet? And that may be training for a bit later down the line for them. But once we've created the lead and the opportunity, what do we do with it then? So we can bring that home. So have we got the right tools and support in place to enable them to go and be successful? I think somebody made a comment in the chat around incentives, so I'll just touch on this. There's different ways to incentivize people, and different people will have different motivations for this. So is it about recognition? Is that really what's going to drive somebody? Is it increased opportunities to do different things in the business, or to go to events, or to do some traveling, or something? Is it going to help them with their promotion, or is there a financial incentive? So thinking about what's the right incentive that's really going to motivate somebody, that's going to be good for them, good for their career, and motivate them to want to engage and do this. Again, a lot of people in the doer roles aren't always motivated by this. They might do it because this is the right thing to do for the client, and that really motivates them. But everyone likes a pat on the back. Most people do like that and recognise that, and they don't want to be taken for granted. So how can we get the right incentive for those individuals? And then think about, well, how can we collaborate internally? How can we create opportunities to learn with and from our peers, other people going through the similar situations and similar feelings? How can we work with them? How can they learn from their colleagues, other people around the business? Who is doing this and doing it well, and what can we learn from them? And what can they learn from you as senior leaders, growth leaders that maybe been there, done that, got some different experiences? So how can we create an environment where we can learn and share these best practices and different tools and tips and tricks, so people can start to develop their own way of doing business development? And I mentioned earlier on, at some point, equally, you may want to have some specialist roles saying, we don't have the people that can do some of these activities. We do need to bring in some subject matter experts. Maybe it's around market insights, who can really analyze the data and help us figure out what's going on in the world. Or maybe we really do need hunters that can really focus on going after that cold new business and bringing those new logos. So do we need to break down those roles and bring in some specialists as and when we need them to? So I think there's a number of different ways or things that organizations could look at and think about, and what can we do to engage our doers in BD. So a roadmap for you, some things to think about. So if we want to win business, win again, and win more, so do or try to identify who are the people within your business, within your teams, who have the greatest aptitude or the greatest potential. I'm pleased Helen's on the line. I mentioned the GC index, and some of you may or may not be familiar with that. I actually did it myself almost about 4 years ago, and I found the insight it gave me was really incredible. That helped me to make my decision to go down this route and create Russell Strategy Partners. It showed me, where do I get most of my energy from? That's a kind of a key word I took away from it. What are the activities and things that I really excel at and love doing? And what are the activities that I'm less comfortable with? I still need to do. I can't stop doing them, but it just gave me real clarity on that. Helen, I don't know if there's anything you could say about the GCI, because it's not a sales pitch for the GC, but it was a tool which I particularly liked compared to other ones that I've done in the past.
So yes, thank you. What I think is really interesting about the GC index is that it doesn't look at who you are in terms of your personality. It looks at where you kind of, what you do and where you get the best energies from, with the belief that if you are sort of high energy in something, and by that you enjoy doing it, it sits naturally with you, plus your skills that you might have, you'll then create higher impact in whether it's your day job or your life or just the way you're being. And I think, Graham, you said about if someone is adverse to getting involved or influencing sales. I agree with that. But the lovely thing about the GC index, for example, there's something called a proclivity that is a polisher, which is like really high level attention to detail, like, wants things 100%. So that person that doesn't actually want to necessarily have the conversation, but is a really high polisher, they could be brilliant at looking at a bid, and really kind of getting into the nitty gritty. So I think it's a really interesting tool, which isn't saying you're an introvert, you're an extrovert, you're a red or a green or a yellow, but it's about, okay, this is what you enjoy, this is where you kind of have the most good energy, and this is how we can utilize it. I'll put a link in if anyone wants to have a look.
Brilliant. Thanks, Helen. Just to answer, I've seen some conversations, chats. Graham, controversial potentially. If someone is adverse to getting involved in influencing sales, I don't believe you can change that. Yeah, I think I would probably agree with you, Graham. But often companies we are trying to put a square peg in a square hole and trying to get everyone doing the same thing. If managers, leaders take the time to understand the individuals, okay, we've got some people that really are great at this, let's help them thrive and go forward. If other people really hate this, but they're really great at delivery, great, let's give them the space to be really good at delivery and focus on that. So no, I would agree with you in those contexts. I think as long as people can be, hopefully they could become more aware that they can spot opportunities and then pass it on to other people. So are there other things that they can do to still support the wider BD effort without them necessarily having to go and do things themselves? So again, it's very individual and personalized. We've talked about investing in these people. We've identified the right people for us. Let's invest in them, provide them with the support, provide clear direction. What's our expectations? What are we going to do? And I think someone made a point, which is going to come up in a moment, is, BD starts small. It could just be, right, let's do one BD activity a day. Small things will build up and change that, give them that variety, enable them to build that confidence, see some successes happening. You can't do one activity all day, every day. It would drive them insane. But how do we break this down into bite-sized chunks and give them a plan, give them some support of, well, what can I do, and how do I give myself that variety to make it interesting and keep me involved? And celebrate and share success. Let's understand, what are they doing? Getting a client client actually comes back to you, or they've agreed to a meeting. Those are small wins. Let's make something out of that. And again, it just builds confidence for people that haven't been used to this. And once we're starting to do that, then hopefully you're in a position where we can then start to scale it, roll it out. Other people are maybe seeing, okay, it's not so big, bad, and scary, or someone else is doing it, and maybe they want to start to get more involved once they're seeing other people doing that. So I would suggest, depending on the size of your team, identify the small group or cohort that you really think have got the best potential, and how can we help them to really go on that journey. Any questions, any other points, comments on that before I come through to kind of a summary on what we've discussed so far? Give a moment for any comments to come through. So just go on to a summary from today's session. We've talked about why most doers don't sell and how to engage them in BD. So we've talked about what business development is, from retaining, growing, and winning business, and it's an art, a science, and a skill. We've talked about who the doers are, the different types of roles, mindset, experiences, barriers and the psychological personality types that could be getting in the way. And we've explored the cost of not engaging doers, the missed opportunities, why most doers don't sell. There's lots of different reasons, but it is very individual, very personalized. I've shared with you some of the tried and failed strategies, so hopefully you don't make some of the same mistakes as other people have made, or think, oh, how do we do this differently or better moving forwards. I've tried to share with you some ideas to what you could go away and think about to start to engage doers in BD. We talked about being realistic, reframing, upskilling. Are we providing the right tools and support? Have we got the right incentive scheme? Are we collaborating internally? So there's a lot of things that do need to go into this, but hopefully that will provide a bit of an ideal framework for your organizations. Of course, we provide a wide range of BD solutions, from strategy, upskilling, and consultancy. If anyone's interested in those, please connect with me afterwards. But lastly, in the last 5-10 minutes or so, any questions? Anything you'd like to? Anything for me to go back over, or any questions, thoughts, comments on that today? Feel free to come off mute if you have anything. Ellen, great question. How can you measure program success? I think there are measures that, depending on what goals, actions you've agreed with the individual, and we can look at that and see what have they done. Some might be around actual activities. Have they had a number of meetings? What business opportunities have we created? You may not win all that business, but I think setting some clear objectives and KPIs with people will help to give us something that we can measure it by.